When you live in Australia and it's the middle of summer, one of the nice things about having to wash and dry your laundry in the scorching heat is when 30 minutes later you go outside and you take a clean shirt off the line and you put it on while it's still damp. What's up guys, I am She-Noob and welcome to my review of RWBY Volume 3 Chapter 7, Beginning of the End. This chapter was very different from any chapter of RWBY we've ever seen before. And there was a lot going on, so this might take a while to get through all of it. Before I start, I want to address something. I mentioned, I think in my Chapter 5 review, that you can talk about spoilers in the comments beneath the reviews. But if you are talking about a chapter that has come out after the review, for example, if you talk about Chapter 8 on this Chapter 7 review, you must use spoiler tags. From now on, I will be removing any comments on these reviews that talk about spoilers and don't have a spoiler tag. Got that? Right, let's get into the episode. This episode starts off with a black screen and we hear a lot of sound going on. We hear Cinder, of course, and we hear the scene of Emerald stealing a ring from a jeweler. Then we see Emerald and Cinder together in an alleyway, looking a little bit different to how we're used to. They're both in slightly different outfits and they have what looks like prototype versions of their weapons, which makes me wonder where they got their swanky new ones from. Also, Cinder has short hair and it looks terrible. I really don't like it. She looks so weird with short hair. Cinder talks about how Emerald didn't actually steal the ring, she took it right in front of the jeweler's eyes. This is already helping us start to piece together what Emerald's semblance is. We then go to another black screen and we hear some more things. We hear a Beowulf and we hear Emerald saying this is impossible. It's really not clear exactly what she's talking about. Then we hear Cinder talking to someone saying she wishes to take on an apprentice. Again, not really clear what that means. And some man tells her that somebody lives in the mountains with his son. We then see Mercury, a younger Mercury in again a slightly different outfit. First thing that we notice is that his thighs are bandaged and they're all bloody. Then we notice that his house is burning down. Then we notice that his father, Marcus Black, is dead on the floor next to him. Now, we can't really know for sure what the heck is going on here, but it would seem that Mercury may have murdered his own father. These kids are messed up. Then we go to another black screen and we hear Roman Torchwick. The first time we've heard Roman Torchwick all season, and it's not even in current events. Then Cinder, Emerald and Mercury all have a meeting with Adam. Adam is one of those mysterious characters that keeps popping up every now and again, and the whole thing seems very disjointed. This sort of confirms that Adam is the big head honcho of the White Fang, or one of them at least. And it's immediately obvious by the way he holds himself and the way he speaks that he's quite the extremist. And also that his voice actor hasn't improved much. He promptly dismisses Cinder and her companions, telling her that Faunus will not die for a human cause. And then Blake shows up, and Adam says that the train will be leaving soon. So this dates these events for us. This is happening right before the Black Trailer, and we know that the Black Trailer happened at least a year before current events. So we're safe in assuming that these events happened 1 to 2 years before current events. After being turned down by White Fang, Cinder, Emerald and Mercury advance to the next stage of their plan, something that we were already made aware of. They go after the Fall Maiden, Amber. I loved Amber's costume. It was so feminine and yet really warrior-like at the same time. One thing that had me a little bit confused is Remnant is a world where the cross-continental transmit system, which is essentially the internet, has been invented. And there is advanced technology, weaponry, and even attempted space travel, but people are still riding horses everywhere. Amber is stopped in her tracks when she sees a little girl next to a fallen bike crying. But what Amber doesn't see, and we do, is that Emerald has actually stood in front of her and the little girl is an illusion. This confirms Emerald as being the notorious illusionist that has been causing so much chaos. It wasn't Cinder like I had thought. Still, I thought if it wasn't Cinder, it was probably Emerald. Strangely, this is also the first time we've actually seen a child in RWBY, and she's not even real. Lucky Amber had her wits about her and saw the footsteps coming towards her, or this fight would have been over a lot quicker. When Emerald fires her guns at Amber, we see Amber blocking the bullets. Firstly, that animation was pretty clunky. Like I said, the animation has been so good so far this volume that when it's not, it sticks out. But this also explains why Cinder was able to block bullets. Amber then begins to unleash her power, and we see that she has control over the elements. It would make sense for a maiden with seasonal powers. She blasts fire at Mercury, which burns his clothes off, and we see that his legs are fake. Bionic, prosthetic, robotic, whatever you want to call them. They're not real! What the heck happened to his legs? Would that maybe explain why he was all bloodied and bandaged up earlier? Did his father do that to him? Because that's what I'm thinking. But it explains how he's able to have shotguns on his feet without injuring himself. Seeing what the Full Maiden could do was terrifying. Conjuring lightning out of nowhere and turning leaves into essentially frozen knives. And it was terrifying because if this is the kind of power the Full Maiden can command, is it the kind of power Cinder could command? Or does the power actually need to be whole to have this sort of colossal effect? We watch Cinder catch some of the debris in midair that Amber has hurled towards her, and this kind of confirms that Cinder's semblance is actually the ability to control atoms or matter, which would explain why she fights with glass. And we also see when Cinder fires 3 arrows at the ground and they conjure fire, that she was already able to do that weird fire conjuring with her weapon. But it would seem now that she has some of the Full Maiden's power, she can do it with just her mind. After Amber is struck in the back with an arrow and injured when her aura goes down, she uses her staff to support herself as she goes towards Emerald. And we see that the crystal in the top of her staff is actually a burned dust crystal. What I'm wondering is, why does she need a staff with a burned crystal in the top when she could probably just conjure fire herself? Once they get Amber down, Cinder puts on this weird long white glove that summons some sort of bug thing through the palm that draws out Amber's power and transfers it to Cinder. I'm not really sure how that works or where Cinder got that thing from or even what it is, but it explains all the scars on Amber's face. Then good old Crow comes to the rescue and severs the connection before it's completed. But Cinder already has enough of the Full Maiden's power to become a force to be reckoned with. Also, it's the power that makes that strange tattoo appear on Cinder's back. A lot of things about Cinder were falling into place in this episode. I don't think a lot of people noticed, but actually when Crow looks at Cinder, Emerald was using her semblance to blur her face out. So he doesn't actually know what she looks like. She also looks a bit different now. But seeing the Full Maiden's power in action and seeing how Cinder transferred it to herself, it explains how Cinder can conjure fire from seemingly nothing and summon her weapons out of thin air. I always wondered how she was able to do that. The scene ends and it cuts to another black screen and Cinder's talking to somebody we don't hear. And she says, "I will claim what is ours." Cinder's last name being Full, it makes me wonder if she has some sort of family tie that makes her think she's entitled to the Full Maiden's power or not. Then we return to the White Fang encampment and we hear the White Fang lieutenant, who just about wrecked Weiss's ass with a chainsaw last volume, talking to Adam and saying, "We'll find her." Obviously he's talking about Blake here. But Adam doesn't seem that fussed about finding her. In fact, he says it's time he returned to Mistral. But he doesn't get to finish because he's cut off by Cinder, Emerald and Mercury wrecking the place. Cinder and Adam have a conversation. So basically Cinder forced Adam's cooperation, simply by being too powerful for him to combat. And then after all of that, we're taken back to current events right from where the last chapter left off, with Yang in big trouble and Mercury cowering on the floor. But it's obvious to us now, after seeing that his legs are actually prosthetic, that he's completely faking it. They whisk him off into an ambulance, and Emerald complains that she has a headache from affecting 2 minds. One mind obviously was Yang's, but who was the other mind? Unless I'm missing something. Neo was the one driving the ambulance. I noticed that she has green eyeshadow in this scene, and also her eyes were magenta for a split second before they changed back to pink and brown. How many different colours can this girl's eyes change to? So far we've seen both brown, pink and brown, brown and pink, silver and brown, both silver, both green and both magenta. Good lord! And I thought having heterochromia was weird. After all of those events, it then cuts to all the news reports around the world of what happened at the tournament. And we see Lisa Lavender make a reappearance. Shout out to Volume 1, Chapter 1. We also see that the Grimm are advancing. They're being drawn towards Vale because of all the negative emotions that are going on. Then cuts to Mercury attempting to repair his leg, and him, Emerald, and Cinder all have a short conversation about their malicious plans. Cinder tells Mercury that he should lay low until they're finished. So I went on the RWBY wiki after seeing the chapter, and I read that Mercury's had a voice actor change. I didn't even notice. Also, I saw that Jen Brown from Rooster Teeth actually voices both Pyrrha and Lisa Lavender. And I can hear it now that I know that. Wow, a lot to take in this episode. It was nice to get some proper backstory. Aside from the 4 trailers, we really haven't had a whole lot of visual backstory. We've heard them talk about it, sure, but to actually see events of the past unfolding and seeing how current events came to be is really interesting, and I'm glad that they did this episode. Even though it meant we had to wait another week to find out what happened to Yang. Score once again on point this episode, fabulous. And this was my review of RWBY Volume 3 Chapter 7. I hope you enjoyed as always. If you did, don't forget to like the video and go down in the comments and let's have a chat about these events. Also, there's videos below me now that you can check out if you'd like to see more of my content. Follow me on my social media, and don't forget to click that big red subscribe button up there. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you for my Chapter 8 review. Bye!